In Portland, Oregon, there was a boy named Phil Knight, who loved sports. He wanted to become athlete, but the destiny have other plan. He didn't know it, but his journey would later lead to creating one of the most famous brands in the world, Nike. Born on February 24, 1938, as the son of a mill worker and a homemaker, young Phil grew up in a neighborhood called Eastmoreland in Portland, and he went to Cleveland High School. Phil worked for a newspaper called The Oregonian when he was at high school. Every morning, he ran 7 miles to work and back. After high school, Phil went to the University of Oregon in Eugene. Phil graduated in just 3 years with a business degree in 1959. He was really good in the Army too, earning a special title called Distinguished Military Graduate. He was good in sports. He dreamed of becoming an athlete, but when he turned 24, he had to face reality. His dream wasn't going to come true. Despite all the lessons and training he had in college, he realized he hadn't reached the level of skill needed to make it as a professional athlete. After finishing college, Phil joined the Army for a year of active duty and then continued serving in the Army Reserve for 7 more years. He went to Stanford Graduate School of Business for his master's study. There, for a class about small businesses, Phil wrote a paper called "Can Japanese Sports Shoes Do to German Sports Shoes? What Japanese Cameras Did to German Cameras?" This paper basically predicted his future in selling running shoes. Phil wanted to bring high-quality yet affordable running shoes from Japan to America. He knew how 2 Japanese camera companies, Nikon and Canon, had replaced German cameras in the market. This made him wonder if the same thing could happen with running shoes. And he also knew that the companies of China were doing experiment on shoes to make more qualitative and cheap. At that time, the popular sports brands were Adidas and Puma. Finally, in 1962, Phil graduated from Stanford with a master's degree in business administration. After that, he went on a journey around the world. In November 1962, he visited Kobe, Japan, where he found Tiger brand running shoes made by Onitsuka. He was really impressed by the shoes' quality and affordability. So he contacted the owner and arranged a meeting with them. He was very shy and introverted by nature. Phil was feeling a mix of nerves and excitement as he walked into the meeting. Back in university, he had studied lots of facts and figures about the American shoe market in his assignment, so he felt confident in what he was about to say. As Phil started his presentation, he was able to recite all those facts and stats he had memorized. The Japanese managers were impressed. But then, one of them asked him about his company's name. He kept his cool and handled the situation smoothly. He became nervous, but suddenly he imagined the blue ribbons in his house. The same blue ribbon which he got for winning many races, and said he represented Blue Ribbon Company. But in reality, he didn't have any company. By the end of the meeting, Phil had gained permission to distribute Tiger shoes in the western United States. Phil quickly gave them his address and requested the Japanese managers to send some samples of Tiger's training shoes. It felt like Phil's crazy idea was on the verge of becoming a reality. After returning to America and eagerly awaiting the arrival of the shoe samples, 4 long months passed without any sign of them. Feeling depressed, Phil wrote a letter to Onitsuka. But the shoes did not arrive. Feeling low, Phil decided to get a job. He worked as an accountant. Then, one morning, about a year later, 12 pairs of shoes finally arrived at his doorstep. Phil couldn't contain his excitement and rushed to show his old coach Bill Bowerman, along with his business plan. Bowerman, who had been obsessed with shoes and experimenting with them for years. Bowerman often snatched his students' shoes, tear them apart, and put them back together with new parts. He liked the shoes so much that he offered Phil a 50% partnership. Phil and Bowerman agreed to become co-founders of the new sports company, Blue Ribbon. This marked the beginning of a remarkable journey in the world of sports and footwear. Phil sent a letter to Onitsuka, asking for the exclusive rights to sell Tiger shoes in the western USA. He even placed an order for 300 pairs. This time the shoes arrived on time, and Blue Ribbon secured the exclusive rights. But there was a problem. None of the local sporting goods stores were willing to give Phil a chance. They didn't take him seriously and refused to stock Tiger shoes in their shops. Realizing he had to take matters into his own hands, Phil decided to sell the shoes himself. He decided to fill the trunk of his car with shoes and set off to various athletic competitions. At these events, he spoke to coaches, athletes, and even the cheering spectators, presenting his shoes with enthusiasm. As he traveled, he met many people who were interested in what he had to offer. His dedication and determination, along with some valuable connections, helped him sell all 300 pairs of shoes within just 3 months. Can you imagine how exciting that must have been? With the money he earned from selling those shoes, he ordered 900 more pairs of shoes to keep up with the demand. He didn't stop there. He knew he needed help to reach even more people, so he recruited some sales representatives. These reps were mostly former runners who shared his vision for the company. They were paid $2 for every pair of shoes they sold. So, they hit the road, driving all over America to every high school and college track meet they could find. He also got loan from the bank. With this financial boost, he was able to move his company Blue Ribbon Sports out of his parents' basement and into its first real office. And guess what? With their sales rising rapidly, they were able to open their very own retail store in 1966. By 1969, Blue Ribbon Sports had achieved remarkable success, making total revenue of around $300,000. Things were going well for Phil's company, but then trouble brewed. Phil asked Onitsuka for exclusive distribution rights across the entire United States. But Onitsuka said no because they didn't think Phil's company was big enough to sell their shoes in eastern US. Suddenly, Phil said that they had offices on the East Coast, but in reality, they didn't. Onitsuka believed him and struck a deal for Blue Ribbon to be the exclusive distributor for Tiger shoes in the US. Phil then ordered 20,000 more shoes. But there was a problem. Onitsuka said they would ship the shoes to Blue Ribbon's East Coast office, which actually didn't exist. Now, he had to open office on the East Coast. Phil came up with a plan. He sent out flyers and advertised the opportunity for people to invest in Blue Ribbon Sports. But unfortunately, nobody was interested in investing. The only money they managed to get was from the parents of one of Blue Ribbon's early employees, Bob Waddle. His parents offered to put in $8,000, which was literally their entire life savings. Phil and Bowerman really admired the shoes made by Onitsuka. However, there were some issues. Onitsuka was ignoring Phil's suggestions, and they were slow to produce the shoes. Plus, they wanted to keep all the money from Tiger shoes for themselves. Onitsuka gave Phil an ultimatum. They said if he didn't sell at least 51% of Blue Ribbon's stake, they would give the distribution rights for America to someone else. Can you imagine the pressure Phil must have felt to keep his company going? It was a tough situation for sure. Phil was shocked by Onitsuka's offer to buy his company and immediately rejected it. He couldn't believe what was happening. Feeling determined, Phil gathered his team and made a bold decision. He declared that it was time to stop selling other brands' products and create their own brand. Creating a new brand meant they needed a new name. Phil's first idea was Dimension 6, but it didn't resonate with the team. Then Jeff Johnson, their first employee, shared an idea that came to him in a dream: Nike. It's inspired by the Greek winged goddess of victory. Phil liked it, and Nike was born. Next, they needed a logo. They hired a graphic design student who came up with the now iconic swoosh. Can you believe she was paid just $35 for it? That swoosh would go on to become one of the most recognizable symbols in the world. Then, Phil hired a third-party manufacturer to produce the shoes based on Nike's designs. Manufacturing began, and on May 30, 1971, Nike brand shoes were officially launched for the whole world to see. Nike quickly gained attention, especially during the 1972 Olympics, where their shoes were prominently featured. This exposure on a global stage helped boost their revenue significantly. By 1976, Nike's revenue had risen to $14 million, and it doubled to $28 million in just 1 year by 1977. Phil decided to expand further by opening new factories around the world. He reinvested everything back into the company for more growth, and it paid off. By 1980, Nike had grown into a team of 2,700 employees. Their sales had reached $270 million, making them the largest athletics company in the USA, surpassing Adidas. It was an incredible achievement for a company that started from selling shoes out of a car trunk just a few years earlier. However, Nike faced a significant challenge when a new competitor entered the scene: Reebok. In the 1980s, there was a shift in fashion trends and people's tastes in athletic shoes. Customers wanted shoes that not only performed well but also looked stylish and attractive. Reebok capitalized on this trend by offering shoes that met these criteria, causing customers to start drifting away from Nike. As a result, Nike suffered losses for the first time and had to lay off employees. In 1986, Reebok surpassed Nike as the biggest athletics shoe company. This was a wake-up call for Nike, and they knew they had to make a comeback. So, they made a strategic move by choosing the legendary basketball player Michael Jordan as their brand ambassador. Additionally, Nike launched basketball sneakers called Air Jordan, named after Jordan himself. This decision turned out to be a game-changer for Nike, helping them regain their position in the market. It was a testament to their ability to adapt and innovate in response to challenges from competitors like Reebok. Air Jordan became iconic shoes that revolutionized sneaker culture worldwide. Michael Jordan's promotion of the shoes by wearing them during games, coupled with Nike's advertising campaigns featuring him, solidified Air Jordan's reputation as a powerful combination of performance and style. In its first year, Air Jordan generated sales of $100 million, surpassing Reebok and solidifying Nike's dominance in the market. Throughout the 1990s, Nike expanded globally. They diversified their product range beyond shoes into other sportswear categories. One of Nike's most famous moves was the launch of the Just Do It advertising campaign, which became one of the most iconic slogans in marketing history. In 2003, Nike acquired Converse, further expanding its portfolio of iconic brands. During the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, Nike accelerated its digital transformation and focused on e-commerce sales. Today, Nike is the world's largest sportswear brand, with a valuation of around $160 billion. Phil and Nike's journey is indeed phenomenal. From its humble beginnings in 1964 to its current status as a global leader, Nike's impact transcends sports, inspiring individuals to pursue greatness in all aspects of life. With its dedication to excellence and adaptability, Nike's legacy will continue to shape the future of athletics and inspire generations to come.